Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the AEW Dynamite review. This is going to be a review of last night's edition of Dynamite. And Dynamite, I thought it was a solid show last night. We saw the Young Bucks. They ended up taking on Pac and Penta El Miedo. Cody Rhodes and Lee Johnson were in action. They ended up taking on QT Marshall and Anthony Ogogo. We had Jungle Boy and Christian Cage versus Private Party, Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Gwen, alongside Matt Hardy that was out there. And in the main event, we saw Dustin Rhodes versus Nick Comoroto in a Bullrope match. And we had a debut, which I loved, which I will get to explain in as I talk about it, because this guy, Vicky Guevara, is going to be managing him. So Vicky Guevara is managing Nyla Rose, and she's going to be managing this guy, which I'm excited to talk about. But overall, Dynamite last night was a solid show. So let's get on with the review. So Dynamite kicked off last night with the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson versus Pac and Penta El Miedo. This was a non-title match. Ray Phoenix didn't come out alongside Pac and Penta El Miedo. And of course, the Bucks came out alongside Brandon Cutler and Don Callis. Don Callis was on commentary for the match, of course. So we had Matt and Nick. They ended up taking what they were wearing off their head. I think it was one of them, and they placed it on top of Michael Nakazawa, who was sitting at ringside. Michael Nakazawa going crazy, and then Frankie Kazarian ended up going right at Michael Nakazawa, just beating him down. And the bell didn't even ring for the match yet, so we had Penta and Pac end up going over the top rope. They end up taking out both Matt and Nick. The bell then rung, and all four of these guys made it up onto the apron. So Pac ended up softening up Matt Jackson for Penta to make the tag, which Penta ended up coming in. So Penta ended up landing a thrust kick to Matt Jackson. Pac ended up coming in. Pac came in, delivered a slingshot cutter to Matt Jackson, followed by a shooting star press, an awesome shooting star press. So Pac and Matt Jackson end up taking a spill to the outside. Nick ended up holding Pac up as Matt started taunting by running around the ring. So Brandon Cutler was shown shining Matt Jackson's shoes. Of course, he had to have that spray and just soften up the shoes. So Pac ended up landing a shot at Matt Jackson, turning Matt inside out. Pac then ended up eating a flurry of right hands from Matt Jackson in the center of the ring. So Matt ended up keeping up on Pac, delivered some stomps. Pac ended up avoiding a splash from Nick Jackson, and he ended up planting Nick with a German suplex, and he make the tag to Penta. Penta then came in, delivered a sling blade and a long blow senton combo to Matt Jackson, which looked great. Nick Jackson ended up tossing Penta into the corner. Penta turned it around and delivered a Pentagon driver, got a 2 count. Pac ended up coming back in. Pac ended up delivering a powerbomb to Matt Jackson in the center of the ring. Went for the cover, which Matt ended up kicking out of 2. So Nick Jackson ended up getting 2 super kicks in midair from Penta and Pac. So Penta ended up delivering a Mexican Destroyer to Nick Jackson. Looked awesome. Matt Jackson ended up making a blind tag to Nick Jackson, and he ended up hitting a Canadian Destroyer. So at the end of the match, we had Brandon Cutler end up interfering, which the referee did not see. So Brandon Cutler interfered, and he ended up helping Nick Jackson pick up the win for the Bucks. So there you go. The Young Bucks ended up winning the match, which we all knew that they were going to win. Enjoying the Young Bucks' heel side to them. It's very fun. So post-match, the Bucks end up being down on Penta and Pac. And then Eddie Kingston ended up running out. So Eddie Kingston ended up chasing off the Bucks. So the Bucks and Brandon Cutler ended up retreating to the ramp. And that was that. But overall, this was a entertaining, good match from the Bucks and Pac and Penta. Very enjoyable. So then we had Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone was in the ring, and he welcomed Mark Henry, which at Double or Nothing, Mark Henry is going to be doing commentating for AEW Rampage. So he's going to be doing commentating. It's awesome to see Mark Henry there. It looked like he lost a lot of weight. So he looked good, Mark Henry. So Mark Henry was excited to be a part of the team. And he ended up saying that he promises to give it his all each and every week. So Tony Schiavone ended up asking Mark Henry if he plans on getting back into the ring. So Mark Henry ended up saying that at this moment, he's focused on doing commentary and coaching roles. Also, Mark Henry's going to be coaching. So Mark Henry ended up mentioning that he has a lot left in the tank. So, Mark Henry just said he's focusing on commentary and coaching. But in his mind, he's like he has one more go in the ring. He has a lot left in the tank. Well, for me, Mark Henry, I think he should just stick to commentating. I don't want to see Mark Henry back in the ring. But he could do great on commentary. But that was news that broke out at Double or Nothing. But they had to end up mentioning it on Dynamite last night. That Mark Henry is going to be doing commentating and coaching. And also commentating on AEW Rampage, which is starting in August. So then we had Vicky Guevara ended up interrupting. Vicky Guevara came out. Of course, everybody was probably picking up the mute button to mute her voice when she always goes, "Excuse me." I mean, it's very, iconic of Vicky Guevara whenever she does the "excuse me." I'm sure a lot of fans ask her to do that. So she ended up telling both Mark Henry and Tony Schiavone to get out of the ring. So Vicky ended up saying that she has a big announcement to make. She ended up saying that a new and generational luchador is here and wants everyone to know it. So this is where the surprise kicked in. So Vicky Guerrero ended up introducing Andrade Cien Almas. Yes, Andrade ended up making his debut on Dynamite last night. But he is now being called Andrade El Idolo. So when he came out, he looked so happy to be there. In his mind, he looked like he was so happy to get away from the stress and the possible drama known as WWE. So, you could look on his face that he was happy just to be there and to get away from, WWE. So Andrade ended up coming out. He ended up wanting everyone to know that he is the new face of AEW. So there you go. Andrade made his debut, and just think of all the dream matches that we're going to see with Andrade here. We can see Andrade versus Jungle Boy, or Andrade versus Pac, Andrade versus Cody Rhodes, Andrade versus either Matt or Nick Jackson, or Andrade versus Kenny Omega. We all know that Andrade's going to be focusing on Kenny Omega because Andrade's going to be possibly coming after Kenny Omega's AAA Mega Championship. So that's possibly in the cards. So I would like to see that. I would like to see Andrade versus Kenny Omega. AAA Mega Championship on the line. That's gonna possibly be an awesome match when it's done. But Andrade is very talented, as what we saw when he was in WWE. And although WWE ended up fucking him up, AEW, Tony Khan, he is going to make Andrade a bigger star than what he was in WWE. And I hope that happens. Andrade gets a big push in AEW. And I hope Tony Khan does that. Tony Khan sees money in Andrade. So I hope they give Andrade the full potential to make him more bigger than what he was in WWE. And he's got Vicky Guevara managing him. Love the pairing. Vicky Guevara and Andrade, good pairing. So not only Vicky Guevara is going to be managing Nyla Rose, she's also going to be managing Andrade. So can't now wait to see Andrade compete in an AEW ring. But overall, this was awesome. Really glad to see Andrade. So then we had Cody Rhodes and Lee Johnson versus Anthony Ogogo and QT Marshall. This was a decent match here. So the match started off with Anthony Ogogo tossing Cody Rhodes. He ended up holding Cody up while making a tag over to QT. Cody ended up sending QT face first into the mat before he ended up making a tag to Lee Johnson. Johnson came in. He ended up locking in a head scissors to QT Marshall. Did a head scissors takedown over the top rope, which looked cool. Ogogo ended up manhandling Lee Johnson while the referee was distracted. So Cody Rhodes ended up getting on top of QT Marshall with a power slam in the center of the ring. Cody ended up locking in the figure four to QT, and Anthony Ogogo came in, delivered a splash to break up the figure four. QT ended up trapping Cody with the diamond cutter, but Lee Johnson ended up coming down on QT, break up the pinfall. So Lee Johnson and Anthony Ogogo ended up spilling out to the outside. Cody was looking to go for the crossroads, but then Aaron Solo ended up coming in. He ended up distracting the referee. Ogogo ended up running in. He ended up clocking Cody right in the chin with the right hand. So QT Marshall, who was still the legal man in the match, he ended up pinning Cody. And there you go. QT and Anthony Ogogo ended up winning the match. Overall, decent match. It was basically QT Marshall just doing all the work. Now, Anthony Ogogo, all he has is that one punch that knocks his opponents out. Overall, decent match. And then we had the Inner Circle's victory lap celebration. The Inner Circle ended up picking up a victory over the Pinnacle at Double or Nothing in the Stadium Stampede match, which I did see, and I thought that was a awesome match there. Really glad that the Inner Circle ended up coming out victorious over the Pinnacle last Sunday. So Jericho and, of course, the Inner Circle Guevara, Santana, Ortiz, Hager, they all came out. Jericho ended up saying that he has a surprise for the fans. So Jericho surprised the fans with free t-shirts because there was t-shirts underneath their seats. So Chris Jericho was like Oprah Winfrey. He's like, you get a t-shirt, you get a t-shirt, you get a t-shirt, everyone gets a t-shirt. So that's what it was. Jericho being Oprah Winfrey. So the crowd was in excitement for that. Jericho ended up handing the microphone over to Sammy Guevara. Sammy Guevara ended up winning the match for the Inner Circle at Double or Nothing on Sunday. So Guevara ended up saying that the 630 splash he did at the end of the Stadium Stampede match is something that he's been practicing for years. So Guevara ended up thanking the fans, and he also thanks the Inner Circle, his guys, Jericho, Santana, Ortiz, and Hager for the support. So Santana then ended up saying that he promises their feud with the Pinnacle is far from over. So it looks like the Inner Circle is going to have more to do with the Pinnacle and have matches. Jake Hager ended up making a challenge to Wardlow for a MMA style fight on Dynamite in 2 weeks. So Jericho then ended up saying that he promises that he'll beat MJF for all the carnage that he caused to him. He ended up saying that the Inner Circle will never forgive or forget. And so after that, Jericho had a serious look on his face, and everyone in the Inner Circle ended up giving the camera the finger, and Dynamite went to commercial. But overall, this was a pretty enjoyable segment here, with the Inner Circle. How they're not done with the Pinnacle. This feud is still going to go on. And then we had Kenny Omega and Don Callis. They were in the control room, and they were sweating over Jungle Boy and Kenny Omega's challenge with Jungle Boy. They're going to be having a match in 3 weeks. So that was that. And now we had Jungle Boy and Christian Cage versus Private Party. Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Wen, Matt Hardy end up coming out with them. And this was a good match here. Christian Cage and Isaiah Cassidy kicked off the match. Cassidy ended up delivering a takedown. It was a nice takedown to Christian Cage. And then Jungle Boy ended up coming in, wrapping Isaiah Cassidy in a wrist lock. And Jungle Boy ended up making a tag to Christian. Cassidy ended up escaping, and he made a tag to Mark Wen. Cage and Jungle Boy ended up doing a double arm drag to Mark Wen. It was a 1 count. Jungle Boy was the legal man now here. So Jungle Boy ended up reversing a arm drag from Private Party. At the end of the match, we had Mark Wen ended up stacking Jungle Boy up, and Jungle Boy ended up kicking out 2. And Private Party were going for the gin and juice, but they ended up missing it. Jungle Boy ended up getting the snare trap on Mark Wen. Mark Wen ended up tapping out. So Jungle Boy and Christian Cage ended up winning the match. Post-match, Matt Hardy ended up delivering a twist of fate on Christian Cage on the stage. Jungle Boy ended up chasing Matt Hardy and Private Party away. So that was that. So then we had Team Taz backstage. Taz was excited to announce that next week, Hobbs and Brian Cage are going to take out Hangman Adam Page and a partner of Page's choosing from the Dark Order. So there you go. It's going to be Page and a partner of his choosing from the Dark Order versus Hobbs and Brian Cage next week on Dynamite. So then we had Sting and Darby Allin. They end up coming out. They had a awesome match at Double or Nothing against Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky. Was an awesome match at Double or Nothing. There was a point in that match where I think it was Page, and he ended up throwing Darby Allin from the ring into the crowd that was sitting in the front. Well, it must have been plants, there that work for AEW. So, but that was a spot that was awesome there. But Sting ended up saying that his match at Double or Nothing, with him teaming up with Darby Allin to take on Page and Scorpio Sky, will be something that he will never forget. He ended up saying that match alone stands up to anything that he's ever done. And this is the first time that Sting has been in a ring in 6 years. So the crowd was chanting, "You still got it," to Sting. So Sting ended up thanking the crowd for their support. And Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky end up popping up on the screen. And they were just mockingly clapping to both Darby Allin and Sting. So Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page end up challenging Darby Allin to a match, but with someone other than Sting. So Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, they are not done with Darby Allin or Sting. So I think this feud is going to be continuing. But it was a decent segment here. So after that, we had the celebration party for Britt Baker. Britt Baker defeated Hikaru Shida at Double or Nothing to win the AEW Women's World Championship. And we all knew that Britt Baker was going to defeat Hikaru Shida. It was time for Hikaru Shida to drop the title. I mean, she's the longest reigning AEW Women's World Champion. So Tony Schiavone was in there. Well, and everyone else. There was hamburgers that were set up there. So Britt Baker came out along with Rebel, and she was saying, "Oh, since Jericho gave out T-shirts earlier in the night, there's hamburgers underneath the seats," as what she was saying to the fans. But she ended up tricking the fans. So I'm like, oh, now we had Jericho being Oprah. Now we're going to have Britt Baker being Oprah now? But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. So she did a swerve to the fans. So we had Nyla Rose. She ended up spoiling the party. She ended up throwing all the burgers, and she went out of the ring, started popping all the balloons. So she destroyed the party. So, but that was that. Overall, it was a solid, party for Britt Baker, celebration party for Britt Baker. But I know she's going to be decent as AEW Women's World Champion. Hopefully she has a decent run with the title. So, but it was about time. It was about time for Hikaru Shida to drop the title. And Britt Baker, being the next AEW Women's World Champion. So then we went backstage and we saw Pac and Penta. And they said that they don't want any of Eddie Kingston's help after he came in to save them earlier in the night. So Eddie Kingston was there. He ended up asking both Pac and Penta for them to marinate this idea in their heads. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So Eddie Kingston ended up walking away, and Pac and Penta end up, looking at each other. They were confused. So that was that. Then we had Red Velvet versus the Bunny, aka Allin. This was just meh, in my opinion. So the Bunny ended up coming out along with the Butcher and the Blade. Red Velvet came out along with Big Swole and Kylie King. So the match started off with the Bunny. She ended up attacking Red Velvet as Red Velvet ended up making her way into the ring. Red Velvet ended up doing a dive through the ropes to the Bunny. Red Velvet had the Bunny cornered. So the Bunny ended up tossing Red Velvet out of the ring. And she ended up landing a big stomp on top of Red Velvet. So the Bunny ended up hitting a low running forearm in the corner to Red Velvet. Bunny went for the cover. Red Velvet ended up kicking out at 2. So Red Velvet then picked up the momentum in the match. And she ended up doing a far reach kick to the Bunny and a sharp stunner. Went for the cover, which the Bunny kicked out at 2. And the Bunny ended up hitting a thrust kick to Red Velvet. And the referee was distracted because saw Kylie King and Big Swole on the ring. So the Blade ended up giving the Bunny a pair of brass knucks. So Red Velvet ended up avoiding the hit with the brass knucks from the Bunny. And Red Velvet ended up knocking the Bunny out. So Red Velvet made the cover, and there you go. Red Velvet ended up winning the match. Overall, very meh match, in my opinion. Wasn't that good. So Miedo was backstage. He ended up saying that he's ready to defend his title against Evil Uno next week. And Miedo also actually gave a shout out to his wife, Lana. So, say it right there, Lana will possibly be in AEW soon. Because we all know that she's going there. We all know she's going to manage her husband. So then they went over what we're going to see on Dynamite next week, next Friday. So it's going to be Miedo versus Evil Uno for the TNT Championship. It's going to be the Young Bucks and Brandon Cutler versus Penta, Pac, and Eddie Kingston. And Hangman Page and the Dark Order's 10 versus Brian Cage and Powerhouse Hobbs. So 10 is going to be Page's partner of his choosing. So there you go. And now we went to the main event. Dustin Rhodes versus Nick Comoroto. Nick Comoroto came out along with Aaron Solo. This was a Bullrope match. And this was a good main event here. This was not a Texas Bullrope match where you have to have the opponent drag each other and touch the 4 corners in order to win the match. In the Bullrope match, you just gotta ambush your opponent. So Dustin Rhodes ended up charging towards Nick Comoroto on the ramp. The bell ended up ringing. Dustin ended up cracking the bell that was on the Bullrope to Comoroto's hamstring. So Dustin then clobbered Nick Comoroto with a clothesline over the top rope. He was on the outside. Comoroto then threw Dustin up and over towards the crowd. Dustin then wrapped the Bullrope around Nick Comoroto's neck. Comoroto ended up landing a right hand to Dustin to get the rope off of him. And we had Frigo del Sol. He ended up climbing on top of Nick Comoroto's back. Nick Comoroto tossed him off his back. Dustin then ended up catching Nick Comoroto with a power slam, causing Comoroto to be busted open. And he was bleeding. Comoroto then threw Dustin face first on top of the guardrail. And Dustin came back and ducked a clothesline. He ended up slamming Nick Comoroto towards the ring post. So Aaron Solo ended up setting the table up for Nick Comoroto on the outside. Dustin then ended up hitting Comoroto in the head with the bell. And then Comoroto ended up sending Dustin through the table with a spine buster. Comoroto then ended up looking to go for a cover, but Dustin ended up kicking out. And then we saw Colton Gunn end up taking care of Aaron Solo on the outside. Dustin then ended up hitting the final reckoning, went for the cover, got a 1 count. And Dustin ended up knocking Comoroto to the mat with a flying bulldog off the top. And Dustin ended up going for the cover on Nick Comoroto. There you go. Dustin ended up winning the match. Overall, this was a good main event. It was a good bull rope match. But overall, Dynamite was a solid show last night. From Andrade debuting, and really like to see where they go with Andrade. But anyways, that's it for the Dynamite review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all later.